Hello and welcome to Views on News. I'm Jawad Tehami. The economic journey in the ongoing fiscal year 2024 has been optimistic, and the economic growth is showing signs of recovery while inflation is trending down. This has been stated in the monthly economic and update and outlook for the month of April. The document also talks about other important factors, most notably about the foreign direct investment. Let me quote an excerpt from the document. FDI inflows witnessed an increase of 89.4% to $258 million as against $136.3 million last month. The improvement in foreign direct investment inflows is attributed to the improvements in the investment environment and a reduction in uncertainty, unquote. Also, another major development, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, while presiding over the meeting of the Economic Advisory Council, has hinted at the provision of more facilities to the foreign investors and the business community in the budget for the next fiscal year. During this particular meeting, he has made some important statements. Let me quote him, that due to the government's policies, the rate of inflation in the country is decreasing. Also, positive trend in the stock market reflects the confidence of the business community and the investors in the government policies. We will increase the number of taxpayers by reducing the tax rate on the common man. The Prime Minister is also expected to visit the United Arab Emirates in order to attract the foreign investment from that particular state. We have seen very high-level engagements in the recent past when it comes to Pakistan and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have also seen in the recent past, most notably Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have stood by Pakistan in the challenging economic times also, and Pakistan now looks forward to attract the foreign investment from both of these particular states, especially under the umbrella of Special Investment Facilitation Council. All these important matters on the economic front are for discussion in today's show. For that, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Professor Dr. Mohammed Naveed, is global financial expert and former Dean at Bahria University. Dr. Naveed, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. We really appreciate that. In the studio, we are also honored to have been joined by Mr. Ali Salman. He is Executive Director at Policy Research Institute of Market Economy. Mr. Salman, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. On Skype at the same time, we are honored to have been joined by Mr. Shikoh Atif, his Senior Economist. Mr. Atif, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Both of you gentlemen, if you allow me, let me begin the discussion with Mr. Shikoh Atif. Mr. Shikoh Atif, let's start the discussion with this particular monthly economic update and outlook. It talks about the economic journey in the ongoing fiscal year 2024, which has been optimistic. The economic growth is showing the signs of recovery. The inflation is on a downward trajectory. A number of other key important things have been highlighted in this particular update regarding as to how the agriculture sector showed the performance, large-scale manufacturing, also specifically talking about inflation, the fiscal front, and that improvement in foreign direct investment in this particular month as compared to the last one. How do you see the overall improvement in the macroeconomic conditions in the country?
Where we are at the moment. You talked a little bit about the UAE and Saudi Arabia. While they are partners and we really appreciate their input into Pakistan, but they're also very practical and pragmatic nations. So Pakistan has always been good value. Everything in Pakistan, so the method of investment for the UAE and Saudi Arabia is not to give Pakistan handouts, but to invest in undervalued assets in Pakistan, which they are doing. And Pakistan is full of those. The finance minister makes a very worthy point. It's not like the secret is not in policy specification. The secret for success in Pakistan and the economic success has always been in making the policy, employing the policy, making it happen. So that is going on for the first time in a very, very long time in Pakistan. What the government has said, it is actually doing. And that has really created confidence for all the people all across the world. And that is the reason for FDI. One small comment I would make about the inflation coming down. This government has done something very smart. What they have done is, what was the cause of inflation in agricultural produce was the people not growing the crop and also not the people selling the crop. It was the people in the middle who were sort of buying it, who were sort of causing this chasm between the people who are growing the crop and the market price. So what this government has done is it has actually put their sort of hands on these people, the middleman, and tried to cut the middleman down and put an implications on those people. And that is one of the key reasons for improvement in the inflation trajectory, as you said, going down. So
Okay, so
everything is very positive with Pakistan. And congratulations to all.
okay, so you just mentioned of agriculture sector is the first thing that this particular update and outlook on the economic front talks about. This particular improvement, when we talk about the agriculture sector in this particular update, it attributes to the government initiatives through improved input supply and increased credit disbursement to the farmers. Now, the factor that you have just mentioned, the role of the middleman. Now, a government trying to deal with that particular factor. Now, these particular two attributions which have been mentioned in this particular document, does that has to do anything with the thing that you have just mentioned?
Absolutely, exactly. What they're doing is the way the middleman controls the agricultural produce is to provide credit to the farmer. So now, when the government steps in, and the state bank has done some really amazing initiatives. So, when the government steps in and says, "We will be the person, we will be the entity that provides you the credit. You don't have to go to the middleman." So that's how they cut the middleman out. They provide cheap credit to the farmer. The farmer produces, does not, there is not that margin that the middleman was making. So that's what the government is doing in the same strategy that you just mentioned. And kudos to
Very
the
important,
state bank
very
for
important
putting
points.
in a lot
I
of these
seek your
positive
pardon for the
initiatives.
interjection over here, Mr. Shikoh Atif. I'll come back to you to take your deeper understanding about other factors. Also, let me take this very important point that you've just highlighted, the government initiatives when it comes to the agriculture sector and that trying to reduce that particular role of the middleman. Dr. Naveed, what's your understanding regarding this particular? Do you agree what Mr. Atif has just put forth?
I think the biggest purview that we have to engage in the first instance, the sustainability. The sentiment are definitely the positive outlook is there. The engagement and protecting the interest of the middleman, definitely government is going in a very strategic design, I would say. I want to see this initiative, the special investment facilitation. I think this council, they need to be strategically well aligned as well. I need to find out the landscape of the country. Definitely, we can integrate the regional trading. It's possible, definitely. Pakistan could be, in a real sense, could be the economic corridor for the Pacific Asia, I would say. This is very important. But at the same time, I need to find out if my capital markets that would be alignment of the bond markets should be there, and then a robust measures that is being about the understanding with the IMF. I think this is one of the area if we have to go in a very integrative way. So it's going to have the impact, this impact would be more sustainable. So I think the government, they have taken a very smart move.
Right, Mr. Ali Salman, what's your understanding regarding the overall macroeconomic conditions in the country improving because of the government policies, and especially when we talk about this particular monthly economic update and outlook, more specifically talking about the economic journey overall is being optimistic, the recovery signs in the growth and the downward trajectory of inflation. The kind of number it was on in the previous year is a considerable reduction in inflation.
So Tehami sir, let me just very briefly comment on the initial discussion and on the agriculture, and I'll come quickly to the economic indicators. I think we need to first of all acknowledge the crisis in the wheat markets that we observed. Just today, I was getting information, and the price of the in market for wheat is about 2,900 per 40 kilogram, where the expected price was 3,900 per 40 kilogram. And so that's a huge difference between the expected price and the price on the ground, and that is actually crushing the farmers, posing a big challenge on the government because of the fiscal situation. So I think that needs to be looked at a priority basis by the government, both provincial and the federal government.
Right.
Economic indicators, I totally agree that when we talk about year-to-year inflation, which is the changes in the price level, this is a significant improvement. Let's say where we were a year ago, where the prices were about 28%, now it is down to 17%, and onward also. All the institutions, including State Bank of Pakistan and IMF, are agreeing that we will expect a further downfall in the inflation. That does not necessarily mean the decrease in the price levels. That would just mean that the price would not rise at the same level. You see, so if the price of a commodity today is 100 rupees, it will not be 120 rupees in a year, but it will not be 90 rupees. So that is the important distinction I wanted to make.
Yeah, but how does that operate? Could you expand it a
So
little
that's
bit?
that's how you measure inflation. So it's when you measure inflation, you are
because
looking
the
at
general public is directly related to the pricing going up and
So
going down.
in-
So,
so
making
in-
the
yeah.
phenomenon of inflation more understandable,
when the
comprehensible for the general
correct.
public.
So when the government reports inflation number, it's an average number of about 400 commodities, which you and I consume on our household on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
That includes food, non-food, petroleum prices, rent prices. So obviously, they contribute in the overall level of prices. So when we are saying 17%, that means that the average increase in the price level is 17%, which is better than 26%, but it doesn't mean that the price level will drop. But still, I think we should take it as a good news at the
Is
end
it
of the day.
average or it is cumulative?
It is the average price.
Okay, I'm being curious at this particular point in time is that when the oil prices reduce, we
Right.
see the dividend being transferred or
Yes.
trickling down to the common man.
Correct.
Straight away the prices are reduced
Yeah.
over here as well, right?
Yeah.
So when the inflation is going down, shouldn't it be that
So you see-
a cumulative number? Because if the prices of the 40 items
Yeah.
are increasing, of course they are going to give that particular number an increase also, which we call as
Right.
inflation.
Yeah.
So definitely there must be a reduction in the prices of majority of those items. Perhaps what I understand is that's why it has decreased from 38% to 17%.
Right.
Isn't it so?
No, actually, let me give you a more concrete example. So for a poor or low-income household, let's say earning 30,000 or 40,000 rupees a month, the price of the wheat determines or influences heavily on its inflation, and it is about 20% for that household. So in last 5 years, the price of wheat has escalated quite a bit. So it means that while petroleum prices might have come down, the impact of the reduction of petroleum price in the household is not significant. So that is how when even if the government or the Prime Minister is taking the pride in announcing the reduction in the price level, the inflation rate, the average household may not be experiencing it across the board. Remember, this is measure of 400 commodities. Petroleum is one of them. So that's why you don't feel that impact.
Right, Dr. Naveed, do you have any point to make in order to elaborate how this particular phenomenon of inflation and the pricing that is directly related to the common man does work?
I think the one-liner from my side, being the economist, definitely he can give the better navigation. So my navigations are definitely towards the other potential areas. That is very significant. I would say largely uncaptured. I think better understanding we have to provide to the general public about the topic of the inflation and exchange rate. I think the real interest rate and the nominal interest rate, I think this understanding is very, very important. So sometime exchange rate and some other factors that is also been having some impact. So I think to realize the direct and indirect impact that we have, so I think if we give this high potential data into the hands of the public, so I think it would help them as well to better understand the literacy side of these inflationary factor, I would say.
Right, Mr. Ali Salman, when we talk about the current account deficit, it has also shown a considerable reduction. Now, it has actually recorded a surplus of 491 million in the month of April, 434 million in the month of March, narrowed by 95%. How considerable is that, and what factors have actually contributed to this multiple?
It is a significant improvement over where we were about 2 years back. Just a year ago, when we were negotiating a standby arrangement with the IMF, country was on the brink of default, and we got that lifeline from IMF. And I think the caretaker government did well in terms of managing the macroeconomic fundamentals, including the current account deficit, and they were able to maintain the discipline in terms of the budget, spending particularly, and also the FBR followed the targets. And since we were on a control policy, especially import control policy, that ultimately helped in reducing the current account deficit. Now, it has also a negative impact, which is like the growth rate. As a growth rate which is reported today is about 2.4%, which is slightly better than what we thought a year ago, but it is still not significant for a country like us. So I would say that the current account surplus is certainly a good news, but I would like to build on this and to be able to attract investment and also increase our exports income, remittance income, and ultimately we need growth. So these are the stabilization measures and stabilization indicators. And frankly, we have experienced that before also, that when we have improved the macroeconomic indicators and then we try to grow, very soon the deficit goes up again. So this time I hope that we can talk about more productive investment, and we can create more jobs for the private sector rather than just infrastructure. Because in last 10 years what has happened also, that while we have attracted a lot of investment in infrastructure like energy projects and highways and motorways, it has also contributed to the deficit, let's say the circular debt, because the economy was not able to grow that much. And so we need to be very cautious about the future direction of economic growth. Economic growth should not be just linked with the infrastructure, but it should be linked with overall private sector intensive led growth.
Right. So going back to that particular point, the reduction, a considerable reduction, narrowing of a current account deficit, do you think it's going to help getting the ratings improved from the credit rating agencies, the global credit rating agencies?
It will make a positive impact, but ultimately, you see, I'll give you another side of the story, because the credit rating agencies are not looking at just one number. They're also looking at the capacity of the country to repay the loans in next 1 year, next fiscal year. Now, there is one disturbing news here, and that is that there's already the news of rollover. That let's say in 1 year, Pakistan was supposed to pay back about $25 billion. And already we are saying that we are expecting a rollover of $12 billion from China, from Saudi Arabia, from UAE. What it means that our internal capacity to earn dollars, whether with respect to FDI, export and remittance, is not enough to repay the external loans. So these credit rating agencies would definitely look at these factors while giving the next credit rating.
FDI, remittances, and the third front that you just
Exports.
mentioned, exports. I'll come back to you. FDI, that is something that this particular update talks about, especially when we talk about FDI and the chances of getting more and more foreign investment under the umbrella of Special Investment Facilitation Council. Let me once again proceed towards Mr. Shikoh Atif. Mr. Atif, now, when we talk about the front of inflation, there has been a considerable reduction as far as inflation is concerned as compared to the previous year. Now, when we talk about inflation in terms of pricing for the common man, how would you elaborate that?
Is the inability of Pakistanis to understand the difference between core inflation and direct inflation and indirect inflation. And for us, it is really important to understand those things and deal with them separately. So, as far as what the point that you were making earlier on about why some of the benefits of a price reduction in a certain sector not pass on to another one, that is the difference between core inflation and inflation. I feel the time might not be enough for me to get into that at the present moment, but a couple of contradictions that I wanted to point out that you kind of touched upon earlier on, and that was the dichotomy between the growth rate in Pakistan. Unfortunately, in the past, whenever it has hit a number above 5, like it's gone to 5.5 or 5 or 6, that has caused a tremendous increase in inflation in Pakistan. So while growth is amazing, but we really need to check and balance growth rate in Pakistan as well, which has then a connection with the population, because population is growing at a tremendous rate, which is the real problem. Because no matter how much we grow, if we don't control the increase in population, we'll never be able to outgrow the rate at which the demographic number is increasing in Pakistan. One comment that I would make as far as what the Prime Minister has said. By the way, where we are in Pakistan right now, and what worries me is stagflation. So that is where, because of the demographic challenges, the population is increasing, but the prices are sort of, while they might be they are sort of on the trajectory downwards, but the population growth is so much that it is very, very difficult until we put a grasp on the population. Last point I will make is the reason the rest of the world has started bringing a foreign direct investment into Pakistan is just one thing, and that credit goes to SIFC or the present government, is they brought one thing which Pakistan has lacked for the past few years, and that is political stability. Really sad that MBS... Sorry, sir.
Please go ahead. Complete your thought, please.
I just wanted to say it was a big blow to Pakistan that because of some irresponsible remarks by some people, MBS had to cancel his visit to Pakistan, or again the fear of political instability. So that was a big blow to the economy of Pakistan.
Right, Mr. Shikoh Atif, now the demographic challenges. Could you shed a little bit of more light on how to address these demographic challenges, how the authorities can actually go about it?
Well, so a few things. Unfortunately, there has to be a tremendous campaign by something that you very aptly and very ably represent, and that is the media. That is one thing we have to change in the mindset of the people. The government runs campaigns, but unless a massive countrywide, long-lasting campaign is run, appreciation created in the common man, and there are ways to do that. We have done amazing things when we have tried to control the thought process of the common person. With campaigns like the campaign with polio, the campaign with around COVID, the country did really well. it is a similar or a much bigger crisis if we cannot control the demographic genie, which is going to terrorize not only us, but just generations to come. We will never be able to outgrow the level of demographic increase in Pakistan.
Are there any positives associated with this population, and the majority of which is belongs to the youth happens to be the major chunk of that population? Are there any dividends associated with that, or should we?
You make an excellent. You make an excellent point compared to the Western countries where this is a huge challenge, and this is the only population growth that countries in the West and Japan are that is occurring there is due to immigration and the birth rate in immigrants there. And it is not taking place in second, third generation Americans, Japanese, Canadians. So it is people even in North America or in the Western world, it is still people from the immigrants, the people from our backgrounds that are where the population growth is. To your point, it is amazing that 60% of our population is under 30 years old. It really is amazing. But if the government, if the public policy cannot find an outlet for these crores and crores of youth, what are they going to do? It is amazing, and they are the people who have actually brought in this FDI through technological. And it is amazing the Prime Minister's focus on giving laptops and enabling these. A lot of effort has to take place in the technology sector, and unfortunately, our academic institutions are not preparing our youth, even that goes to schools, colleges, universities. They are completely leaving the academic system without any ability to earn an income online or in person. I have lectured at universities all over Pakistan, and I'm afraid, even at the highest level, we are using youth, even PhD doctors cannot write a complete note in a language which can be appreciated internationally. I'm being a little bit harsh and I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it is just to make a very important point. There has to be a connection between the educational sector and the media and the concerted effort.
Right.
So,
Dr. Naveed, do you have any point to make over here when we talk about this demographic challenge, the stagflation, that phenomenon that has been shed light upon by Mr. Shikoh Atif, and preparing the youth, 60% under 30 years of age, the role of the academic institutions in order to make them more skillful for the future times?
I think the voice that we receive, that is, it's a path-breaking way, I would say. Youth bulge, definitely, we have to make this youth bulge a dividend, not a liability. I think I give you 3 quick windows. Responsibility on the part of the universities, I would say. I think what we are lacking in the universities, I take the responsibility for that. We are not acclimatized with the industry. Definitely, this is one of the area. And we have to provide a free education programs. This is one of the voice of the World Economic Forum as well, that the universities, they offer a free education programs where you have to spend a time with the industry. One semester that you have to be on campus, and one semester you have to spend with the industry that we have. So this is how we have to give a thought of a job creation among our candidates. And the second, I think that is the most important area, that is the economic eye. Now I want to see positive sentiment is there, but my nation overall, that is, have a predominance of a culture where I would say enforcement, this is one of the channel that we need to bring. I have to keep a compliance, whether that is going for a tax, whether we need to find out the compliances that is with the rules and regulations that need to come through a social responsibility. I think on the side of the morality, on the side of the social responsibility, this is some of the area where we need to find out the enforcement that is self-driven, that is coming, it's your civic responsibility, I would say. So now driving the thoughts from these your demographics, coming towards the economic capitalization, and finally I would say government should be very clear in terms of the interest mapping with the youth, I would say. Having a youth that is representation of the 60% of a nation, I need to see what are the priorities. Don't have the pulse of the nation, don't have the pulse of the perspective of the youth. I think if I'm going to design the structure, the policies for the government, so end of the day, I need to find out, it could be a divergence of the views would be there. So 10 areas which are highly important, I would say, which are more youth capitalized, I would say. For me, the most important thing that is, definitely we have to bring more skill eyes, that is towards the techies, I would say. Our IT sector that need more IT experts that we need to have. This is the top priority. Second, I need to find out the hanging fruit, I would say. Hospitality management, if you bring guys, landscape of your country that give the potential of the dividend towards the tourism. So tourism, you need to find out your venture capital, you need to find out the most important thing, that is the technology in the health sector as well. So you have to engage the youth, that is through the mapping of the interests of the youth, that is directly being aligned strategically with the economic outlook. I was just looking into the official dialogue that we have with the IMF. So divergence of the views was there. So why the IMF, they felt the need that we need to have a relook of these, the facilitation council. They also have a divergence of the views that we need to revisit the economic framework that we have presented for the coming year. The reason behind is they want to see the strategic socio-economic development that we have designed for the country that need to align. So I think the priorities we need to learn about from the perspective of the youth. If we are mapping with the interest areas of the youth, and we have the ideas, these competency skill areas, end of the day, that is going to add a capitalization not only for the career development of the youngsters. We have to bring more focus towards the startups as well. A voice from the Barry University, very open with you. I am speaking my heart. I celebrate number of the graduates every year that we have. Convocations are taking place. Believe me, have a pulse of the students. They are coming with a thought. We want to become a job seeker. We have to bring a turnaround. So that's why I said you need to find out your collaboration with the industry. This collaboration with the industry, at least you have to give them a thought of reimagination, reorientation. So end of the day, my youth was definitely, it need to be a capitalize according to the skill areas where we can develop economic and social development for the country.
Right, Mr. Ali Salman, now this youth bulge, how to convert it into a dividend?
Well, being the devil's advocate once again, just for the discussion. According to a recent report released by PIDE, the unemployment rate in the educated youth is significantly higher than the unemployment rate in the uneducated youth. So, if you have gone to university and have done a master's degree, there is a greater chance that you will not get a job in at least first couple of years. The rate is about 34%.
I mean, don't you think this comment is going to discourage the youth, whoever is watching this show, even if I am also looking forward to have more higher education, so I would rather not opt for that.
That is the message, exactly, that we want to discourage, and I would like to discourage the youth for adopting master's education without thinking about the career. The industry might need a very different
Do I understand that it should be properly thought out?
Well,
whatever the program that you're going to pursue in your academic career at the master's level should be well thought out, and it should be aligned with your future priorities, which particular career you are going to pursue.
Even now, Tehami Sahab, the industry needs about 750,000 to 1 million skilled jobs every year, and our education system is producing hardly half of it. So there is an industry, even at this rate, they want more skilled manpower to join them. And our education system is constantly failing to produce them. And we are putting them into Masters of Business, Masters of Sociology.
If I try to segregate what you have just put forth right now, I hope that this particular observation or the things that you've mentioned doesn't actually lead to discourage someone from acquiring further education or the higher education. Rather, there should be something.
It should lead to a more critical assessment.
Introspection when it comes to the educational institutions when designing those courses for the youth, right?
That's right, yeah.
If a certain course would be available at an educational institution that would be futuristic, So that will definitely give dividend to the student if he or she enrolls in that particular thing.
Yeah, that's right.
As compared to a course which has no futuristic value, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Am I correct? So
That's right.
this observation shouldn't necessarily actually discourage anyone from acquiring the education further, rather an introspection on the part of the academic
I
institutions.
like your positive conclusion, and I can agree with it.
A very quick thought. Definitely, responsibility is there. We have to give a navigation towards the career development of the students. I think the three ways we can bring a very quick around in the education system, I would say. We are working in our silos. We are not having articulation with the industry. If we need to give the voice of the demonstration of the education, that is with the skill-based education. So the world has taken these phenomena very positively. My education certifications, I would say, it's a license that you can move in the industry. It's lacking a skill competencies. We have to demonstrate a skill-based education. So articulation with the industry, what are the priority areas? For instance, business analytics is one of the area. So I need to find out the professor of practice, that is one chapter from the industry. We have a professor of research and professor of academia. So I think this design thinking, end of the day, it would bring a prospect not only for the better employability, but as well as the confidence towards the job creation.
Right, let me once again proceed to Mr. Shikoh Atif. Mr. Shikoh Atif, when we talk about attracting the foreign direct investment over here in Pakistan, and ultimately that will lead to an enhancement in the export. So we saw a gigantic project when there was PDM government, the continuity of the policy during the tenure of the caretaker government, the Special Investment Facilitation Council. We have seen some high-level engagements when we talk about Pakistan and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the recent past. Also, Saudi investors, Saudi officials expressing their keen desire in order to helping Pakistan out and considering the agenda and the aim of stabilizing Pakistan's economy as of their own, and also Pakistan looking forward to them to invest in key sectors under the umbrella of SIFC that include agriculture, IT, mines and minerals, and some other key sectors also. Firstly, I want your understanding regarding as to the potential that SIFC offers, given the fact it offers a one-window operation, and also to the investors, particularly belonging to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates in particular.
Sure. So the one thing that SIFC brings to the table, which is the biggest assistance to the economy of Pakistan, that one word to my mind is stability. And it is the continuation in policy, regardless of the other factors in Pakistan. So that political stability, that social stability. One thing which has become a real problem with the psyche of us Pakistanis is our lack of confidence in ourselves. And when we talk about our relationship with countries like the UAE or Saudi Arabia, the first thing that comes to our mind is that we are going there to request for something. Now, really love the relationship and their support, and that is wonderful. But, we have assets intrinsically which are highly valuable to a prudent eye. And these countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc., they are very practical people. They are not investing. Once SIFC is able to provide us with that political and economic and policy stability, the assets in Pakistan that you touched upon just now, the minerals, even the institutions that are all ripe for a good management, that is all the things that, especially the wonderful focus and emphasis that SIFC has brought to privatization. Just that alone, and that, just that sentiment, that focus, countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia are keeping a very keen eye on. Not to, if I may say so, maybe not as much to help Pakistan, but as to help themselves. Because all of our assets are tremendously valuable intrinsically. Because remember what Pakistan has, and you touched upon a little bit earlier on, is all this population, all this demographic that I was saying we need to control, and I do believe that. But if they have money to spend, This can be one of the largest potential marketplaces in the world. And any country in the world would want to sell here, would want to do business here if these people have money to spend. We just need to turn Pakistan, and a few small adjustments that SIFC is making now. Once those adjustments go through, the Pakistanis, we will have money to spend, we will know what to produce, and countries like like Saudi Arabia, UAE, would really give anything to do business in Pakistan.
Right. Mr. Ali Salman, you want to make a point?
I
Please
just
go
want to
ahead.
make a quick point that on the investment potential and investment front, I think it is important, and that is indeed the main mandate with which the SIFC was created about a year and a half ago. I think they have taken some initiatives.
I think unfortunately there's some sort of a distortion with the audio from your mic. Let me come back to you to take your understanding. Dr. Naveed, do you want to add some point to this particular, the potential of SIFC that it carries, and especially when we talk about that very strength of the relationship Pakistan, UAE and Saudi Arabia enjoy. We've seen Saudi Arabia and the UAE both standing by Pakistan in difficult and economic times. And Pakistan is looking forward to attract that investment from their investors. Also, recent high-level engagements with Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A delegation of investors was here also. And also, Prime Minister is expected to visit the UAE in that regard.
I think that definitely it's an angel's eye that we receive several times. The bailout that is being we receive from the Gulf Alliance countries, acknowledgement is there. But I think this time we have to go by design thinking. What I said in the very beginning, I said you need to come with a design thinking where this your facilitation council, it need to be synchronized with the understanding of the IMF, with a CPEC, another chapter, your bond and capital markets. If they are going to capitalize, so then we can pool the larger impact that could be cultivated. And finally, quick thought. I was just looking into the key takeaway that we have with the IMF officials that we have. They are speaking high about the aspect of the transparency. So they want to see the disclosure. So they want to see the special economic zones, 28 zones that we have with the chapter of the CPEC. They are more interested. We need to have a transparent and a disclosure that is being at the level of the design thinking.
Right. Mr. Ali Salman, please go ahead.
So I was just talking about that while on papers we have an very conducive investment policy which was there. I think there are bureaucratic handicaps in Pakistan. There are also tax policy issues. There are also issues with the state bank. The fact that we have not allowed the multinationals to repatriate their profit over a long time. These are the practical issues which have hampered the incentives for investors, the current investors. And unfortunately, these current investors are not given the desirable positive signal to the future investors. So while the SIFC is there and they are providing let's say a stable policy environment, these facts are also there. And so I think we need to make sure that our existing investors who are already in Pakistan for a number of decades are satisfied with the quality of regulation, with the predictability of taxation, and the trust in the government institutions. So these are the institutional bottlenecks which the investment the council has to overcome before it can attract the investment and realize the potential, let's say, from other countries.
Mr. Ali Salman, Executive Director at the Policy Research Institute of Market Economy, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Professor Dr. Mohammad Naveed, Global Financial Expert and former Dean at Barrier University, thank you very much for your time. On Skype, we were joined by Mr. Shikoh Atif, Senior Economist, joining us all the way from Canada. Mr. Shikoh Atif, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that also. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.